All right. Sean Williams, InsideHilltoppersports.com. The Zoom chat is back again. Back with our friends, Casey Warner, Tyler Mansfield, Noah McGhee. How you guys doing? Yeah, it's not all
Hanging in there.
once. All right. Delayed reactions there. Come on.
I was going to talk first, it looked like. Then he put himself on mute, so then it threw me off. I was going to go in order, and then I was
The
like,
cadence. It's
not
the
going,
cadence of the Zoom.
All right.
I was
Maybe
giving you guys the floor first, but you know
maybe
what?
I should just say your guys' name and then ask how you're doing. But anyway, we'll just start with that. Obviously, Western coming off another loss to BYU. Obviously, that look, we weren't expecting Western to go up there and pull off an upset or anything like that. If they did, it would be a huge upset. BYU kind of had their way with them there in the first half, led 35-3 at halftime. Ended up being a 41-10 loss. Kind of, BYU kind of put it in cruise control in the second half there. So we'll talk a little bit about that, just positives and negatives like we do with every game. I'll start with you, Noah. You were talking about how you said you had a little bit more positives than maybe people kind of think with Western Kentucky coming out of this BYU game. So, Noah, we'll start with you, positives and negatives from the loss.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because they were in prime time, but they played a little more inspired on offense. Pigram made a lot of really good decisions in the pocket, throwing the ball, just being patient for things to open up. Was just really smart with the decision-making. The run game got going again, like against a really stout and physical front seven for BYU. So I was kind of shocked that performance from the UTC game carried into this game. So, yeah, and as I've been talking about, they need to sustain drive. So their first scoring drive, they were 14 plays, 49 yards, 8 minutes. So they kept the BYU offense off the field. And obviously they ended up going down 14-3. And I tweeted out, you can't trade, 3 with 6. And then they ended up fumbling. Gage Walker fumbled after a big run on his, first play of the next possession. That pretty much is what put him in the hole for the rest of the night. So, secondary, Deontay Ruffin played a pretty good game. He got his hands on a couple of balls early. Ended up coming up with the interception. Zach Wilson doesn't, turn the ball over a lot, so that was good to see. Look here at rushing, 34 carries for 156 yards. You got a couple negative rushing yards taking into account sack yardage. So I think if you took away sack yardage, they ran the ball pretty well the other night, in my opinion. Joshua Simon dropped. He alligator armed on the first possession, ball that got lofted into the end zone up the middle seam. So other than that, he had a pretty good game. Defensively, Devin Key had another solid outing, 7 tackles. And Eli Brown was solid. They said they blitzed him a lot the other night, had a couple of quarterback hurries. So there were a lot more positives than negatives. I think, obviously, the secondary struggled again, but we all expected that. And the pass rush didn't get home, but that was a really good BYU offensive line. So yeah, lots of positives taken away going forward for the rest of the season in comparison to where we've been negative, for the last couple of weeks.
All right, sounds good. Noah, Tyler, I'll throw it to you. Your impressions of the BYU game, positives and negatives for Western Kentucky coming out of that.
Yeah, there were some good and bad things. I think they played, like Noah said, more inspired. I think being on national TV against a ranked opponent like that helped out a lot. I think the biggest thing for me was the offensive line was so much better. We've harped on all year long about not doing a good job protecting Pigram or Thomas or just anybody in that backfield, but they improved this week. I know it was still 41-10, but there were better drives this week. Looking at third down, 6 for 13 compared to what's been 2 for 12 we talked about for weeks now. So that's improvements there. 17 first downs. And not the yardage wasn't there for him, but obviously playing BYU got down big early, kind of too hard to come back from that. But the ground game, almost 160 on the ground was good to see. Moses Walker played a pretty good game there. I think it was a step forward, obviously a big loss, but I think it'll be good for them to go to FAU now with a game like that under their belt with some improvements made, and I think it'll be some good things happen with weeks to come now. But negative still, I think they're still trying to find their groove offensively. Obviously, like I said, step forward, but still things to work on.
Yeah, and Casey, I'll throw it to you. I know you mentioned before, you want to see more out of Gage Walker. You want to see Jakari Moses, kind of a 1-2 punch. They had a pretty decent game against BYU. So, Casey, I'll flip it to you and talk about your positives, negatives coming out of the game.
All right, let me just start by saying I'm glad I was the last one to go and talk about this BYU game because I love the optimism, you all, But if you would have told me going into this year that we lose that badly to BYU with the team we were expected to have this year, I would be pretty mad. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that's another bad loss. I'm not going to take away many positives from it. Sure, the run game looked good. Gage Walker kind of got back on his workhorse status. That's great and all. But they lost pretty big. They didn't cover the spread again. Didn't look good by any means. That offense still looks lost. Josh Simon had a touchdown. Woo! That's a positive. I mean, that's great. He's a great tight end. Won the time of possession. Woo! That's another positive, I guess. I mean, you still lost by 30 points, though. And here's why I will say this is a big positive. Darius Ocean got some clock, and that's what I want to see the rest of the season. I'm tired of these seniors not playing and not performing. We have 25 of them, and coming into this year, a 9-win squad. We were supposed to be so good. They were supposed to be outstanding leaders. We were supposed to be so great on defense with 9 returning starters, and they're not playing. I mean, we had no sacks. No sacks. I mean, like, what is that? D'Angelo Malone, Jawan Jones, how are you not getting sacks with those two guys? I mean, I understand teams are game planning. I understand D'Angelo Malone gets double teamed, but you got to sack the quarterback at least once, man. Malone has, 2.5 sacks on the season, and he's supposed to be one of the best pass rushers in the country, and he's just not getting it done. Bench these seniors, bench these guys that don't want to play. Give the freshmen some time to play. Put Darius Ocean in there the last few games. Let him get some reps under his belt. Maybe we can have a starting quarterback for 3 or 4 years. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, I'm tired of seeing these guys come in for 1 year. Ty Story was the exception. He did good. But if you give the guy more reps, he's more likely to perform later on in his career, even earlier. So I think Darius Ocean has plenty of potential. I've talked to him before, done a recruiting story on him. Great kid, 6'1", 200 pounds, everything you want to see. A lefty, stands in there and throws the deep ball. Let him get some reps late in the season. Let these young guys get some reps. Let's see what they got. 10 penalties for 96 yards. Nah, that's not going to cut it. Like I said, no sacks. That's not going to cut it. Still under 50% on third downs, 6 of 13. Not going to cut it. A 30-plus point loss to BYU when coming into the season, that could have been an upset win. Nah, this is not a good game for the Tops, and I'm not taking any moral victories away from this. We are not a good football team.
If there was a fire emoji I could use to just throw out on here, that I would definitely use that during that hot take, man. That was 3 minutes of just scorching stuff right there. So, but hey, look, everything you said was right, So
it's usually the Noah McGhee soapbox. How about the Casey Warner soapbox today? I like that.
Hey, we swapped. Normally I was like, Casey for some reason is pulling. Tell us we're terrible. This week if we play BYU, and then the weeks past has been like, oh, there's some positives. I've been on the downside, and then I'm like BYU. I understand. Like I went on. I anchored a extra point there on Friday, and I said that BYU is my 4th playoff team. So, like, I think BYU is that good. So that's why I didn't think that it was that bad of a loss. I think we expected it, so that's why I didn't think it was that bad of a loss. And I think that, in such a weird year that we're in, that BYU could slide in. If they win this Friday night against Boise State, they can slide in at the 4th spot whenever it comes time for CFP picking. So.
Hey, look, there just comes a time where, Casey's been pretty positive in his reviews, and there just comes a time in the season where you're just like, man, I've had enough, man.
It all had to come out, man. And see, what really triggered it was, like I said, Darius Ocean, man. I agree with that 100%. Give these freshmen more playing time, man. If you're an upperclassman and you're done with this season and you want to give up, give up. There's somebody that wants to play behind you, always.
I mean, Casey, you feel a lot better after that 3 minutes?
Oh, I do, man, because it's just like, I'm tired of these moral victories every game, and that's great. I wanted to see some good football this year. I really did, even with COVID and everything going on. I haven't seen it all year at all. So,
yeah, a lot of disappointing WKU fans out there, that's for sure, considering the expectations coming into this season. So, with that being said, we'll move. Casey, you got anything else to add?
Oh no, man, I'm good. I'm cooled off a little bit now.
All right, I just want to make sure you got it all out.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave any stone unturned before we move on. Okay. All right, so we'll go with we talked about BYU and that's in the book. So Western takes on Florida Atlantic this weekend. That is the Willie Taggart Bowl. So I kind of ask you guys, I wrote down some notes on Florida Atlantic, but I'll kind of start with you, Tyler. I'll start with you, Tyler, on this one. Florida Atlantic, what do you kind of see from this team? They've only played 3 games so far. They're 2-1 on the season. They've had some postponements to begin the season with COVID and everything. So what do you see from this team so far? What are some things to look at with FAU?
Yeah, they're interesting. Only 3 games so far this year. A lot of postponements, cancellations due to COVID-19. But just seeing them, 2 conference wins under their belt. They played Marshall pretty well. Didn't score many points against them, but they battled with them for a while. Like you said, it's Coach Taggart's team. Willie's teams tend to play pretty well. Helton said that they're good on paper. Did a lot of good things well. I know their quarterback, Chris Robison's not playing this year. He has some trouble going on, so he's not the quarterback anymore. But I have another guy, I think Nick Fronte's his name. He's a solid quarterback. He's got Willie Taggart Jr. there if he wants to put him in the game. So it's like a father-son duo there. But offensively, some good things I've seen out of them. They don't allow many points either defensively. Hilton said this week that just looking at him, that one loss was to Marshall only, and they're undefeated ranked team right now. So you can't see much in 3 games, but I've seen a few good things out of them. I think they're a good team. Obviously, it's hard to play in Boca and win, especially this year for Western. And now for them, the biggest thing is you travel to Utah there and back, and you come back, practice for a week, and now you're flying to Florida. So I'm sure they'll be a little tired, a little rusty, but we'll see how things work out for them.
All right, Casey, I'll let you go second this time. What do you see from Florida Atlantic, and I guess some of the key players, things you've kind of seen so far during their first 3 games?
Yeah, so I think it's worth noting, first of all, that the spread opened up at minus 10.5, Florida Atlantic, and it's now down to minus 7. So it's interesting to see how that's playing out. People think it might be a little bit closer for WKU, but like Tyler said, it's going to be pretty tough traveling all those miles going down to Boca. So I think that's definitely going to be a factor. Over-under is at 40 right now. I would definitely take that under in a game like this just because of the fact the most scored on the year for Florida Atlantic is 24 points, and then the most they've allowed is 20 points. So I fully expect it to be a defensive game. Nick Tronti, you were talking about Mansfield. He's got 5 total touchdowns on the season. He's got 2 rushing, 3 passing. So he's kind of a dual threat. He's been able to show in a small sample size. It is worth noting a couple of statistics that Florida Atlantic has the advantage in here is 18th rushing defense allowed. They allowed just over 106 yards rushing per game. So a pretty good run defense there. It'll be interesting to see if the Tops can continue the ground game, which has been improving over the last few games. So I'm really going to be looking forward to that to see if Gage Walker can maybe have his first 100-yard game on the season. It's going to be challenging, though. And then in points allowed in the country, they're 8th. Again, a small sample size, just 3 games, but they only allow 13.3 points a game. So they got a pretty strong defense. Definitely going to be looking for that for Florida Atlantic to see if we can get anything going on offense at all. It would be nice to score more than 20 points, which is our season high at this point. So I would love to see that, or 21, I think. I'm sorry. So, yeah, it would be nice to see maybe more than 3 touchdowns up there. So I'll be looking forward to that. But overall, I expect this to be a pretty defensive game, and I expect both teams to not really show anything too much offensively and get a lot of guys reps, like I said, on WKU. That's what I'm going to be looking forward to. I want to see some young guys get some reps, maybe be able to make some plays on the offensive side of the ball. Look for the future. At this point, this is really all I want to see from this team. Look toward the future. Look for the next couple of years. Who's going to be the playmakers in the next couple of years? We've seen what Terrell Pigrome has done. I really don't want to see much more of him. I really don't. So I really don't think he has any business being on the field any longer. So if I see him on the field majority of the game, I'm going to be pretty disappointed in this game. Just going to be honest. So we'll see how that goes. But get the young guys reps, man. That's all I care about at this point.
Casey, I will tell you that Coach Hilton announced Monday that Pigrome will start at FAU. So sorry about that, but there we go.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, Casey, but yeah, he's
I didn't, but I mean, what do I expect at this point? He's got the most upside. Maybe we'll win 5 in a row. Woo!
All right, Casey, still on the soapbox. Casey, you did mention Gage Walker and 100 yards rushing. I think you mentioned that about every Zoomcast. If you keep saying it, you're going to will it to happen. It eventually happened this
Eventually.
time.
We'll see.
But you mentioned, obviously, Florida Atlantic doesn't score a lot of points. Their last game, they won 24-3 over UTSA. A lot of ground and pound in that game. They had 235 rushing yards, only had 136 passing yards. So they do a lot of ground and pound. Like you mentioned, the quarterback is dual threat. So, Noah, what is your thoughts on FAU key players? What you kind of see from them statistically and everything?
Yeah, they're weird. They're really weird. They're a good football team. They're cohesive. They play together. Nick Tronti is not good. Let's just say it right now, he's not good. I'm currently in the process of putting together my film breakdown for the week, and he just doesn't throw the ball very well. They do there are a lot of short passing games, screen passes, jet sweeps and whatnot. So his yardage is not. I believe he only has like 381 yards on the year so far. and most of that is it's the hidden yardage in terms of like, it looks good on paper whenever you see they threw for 180, but a lot of it probably came from jet sweeps, in terms of forward passes and screen passes and stuff like that. They run the ball really well. The Davidson kid, I believe, is his name. Yeah, he had 114, I think, on 15 carries last week or something like that. He's so really explosive tailback. UTSA typically is their bend don't break so far this year in terms of how they play defense, and they ended up giving up a really big run on first down. So they had the explosiveness to bust up big plays up the middle. But I don't think it's about the offense for FAU this year. I think it's about the defense. They have 3 guys already who've had multiple sack games. Jalen Joyner, Layden McCarty, and Chris Jones. They play 3-4, so McCarthy and Jones are outside backers in that defense, and basically they're going to go 5-man front and put their hands in the dirt and come after these tackles for WKU. So I think it's going to be really important to seal them off whenever you get the chance and set the edge before they get the chance to, because those guys have pretty much been the ones that have kept FAU in games because they're putting teams behind the sticks, and obviously when Western gets behind the sticks, they don't have the explosiveness on offense to make up for that lost yardage. So I think that's going to be really important going forward in terms of how they're going to handle the FAU pass rush. They've only forced 2 turnovers on the year, but I would say that this group's also, like, as a whole, is pretty resilient. They've sat out a lot of weeks and had to be patient on when they get their chance to play football games. So I believe that, they're going to come out ready to play because, so far Western's not struggled with any positive tests for COVID-wise. So I think as long as they get to keep playing, they're going to keep playing inspired. So I think while they don't score a lot of points, that the defense is going to play inspired for FAU, and that the offense is, they're going to try to open up running lanes, and Tronti's going to have to be, make plays whenever, called on to. So really interesting game going into. I think the 7-point spread is fair, though. I do think it can be a pretty close, low-scoring game.
Yeah, good job, Noah. You mentioned the 3-headed monster in defense. I had those guys written down, and they've done a pretty good job so far this year. So definitely, I mean, you talk about the most points they've allowed has been 20, and that was to Marshall. And they're, like Tyler said, they're undefeated and ranked right now. So really good defense for the Owls. So that being said, do we all agree, does this need to be a trophy game since Willie Taggart's at FAU? Do we need to –
a trophy of Willie Taggart in the Willie Taggart Bowl while he's coaching at FAU?
Well, it could be like split, like we'll split Willie down the middle, and he'll have like a Western Kentucky on one side and the FAU on the other, and he'll wave a towel, and then he'll have like an owl in the other hand, and he'll wave a towel in the other.
Yeah, he'll have it perched on his shoulder. Yeah.
I'm just trying to create new rivalries here, man. Just create some excitement for the season, okay?
Yeah, if if the tenure lasts long enough at FAU, I'd say make this a trophy game for sure. Make it bigger than the Paul Bunyan, for sure. I think it can happen. Let's make it a thing.
We can call it the Who Got It Better Than This Bowl. The trophy.
Nobody.
Who got it better than this bowl or the trophy? So there you go. Thank you, marketing guys. I come up with a great creation there. All right. So anyway, we'll go with score predictions for this game. I think most of you guys agree this one's probably going to be a low-scoring, grinded-out game. And Noah, you mentioned FAU's not very good passing the ball, but maybe they're waiting to play Western Kentucky and then open up the offense a little bit. But we'll see. We'll just go ahead and start with you, Noah. What's your score prediction for the game? How you see it playing out?
Yeah, so I think, as Casey talked about, the most FAU scored this year has been 24, and they've kind of hovered around that. I've not really seen much out of the kicking game. I believe they're 6 or 7. So in terms of cashing in on field goals, I think they'll do that when prompted. But I think right now I'm going to go 23-16 FAU. I'm going to go the FAU covers on the dot. Western has been 14, 10, 10 their last 4. Now, credit 3 of the 4 teams that they've played, 2 of them are undefeated in the top 20 in the country, and one of them is UAB, who has losses to Miami, and obviously they lost a nail-biter to La Tech and Double OT this weekend. So they've lost one more game too, and so while they played really stout defenses, they're going to see another one this weekend. I think they're going to struggle to score points.
All right, Casey, score predictions and thoughts on the game for you.
Okay, so I originally had my score written down as FAU 31, WKU 14, but I did mention when I was talking about FAU a little bit earlier that over-under is at 40, and I do think it's going to come in the under. So I scratched out my score for FAU. I got FAU 24, WKU 14 now. I do think it's going to be a little bit more low scoring. I think FAU could meet their season high in points in this game against an inconsistent WKU defense, and then ultimately we know the WKU offense is not going to blow you away by any means. So I don't expect them to have any more than a couple touchdowns, maybe a field goal. So 24-14, the Owls get the victory.
All right. Throw it over to Tyler Mansfield. Score predictions. I'm waiting for the dramatic pause here.
I actually don't have one this week, believe it or not. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to be ugly. But FAU wins 24-20. I think it'll be one of Western's closest games of the year so far. But at the end of the game, they won't pull it out. Something's going to happen, and FAU will win, and Western will fall to 2-6 and 1-3.
All right, there you have it. Like you all said, grind it out. Going to be maybe closer than the experts think, but they're not going to score a lot of points. So, and I agree with all you guys. I'll kind of keep it on the same. I think FAU is going to score 31 points here, and Western to score 13. So there you go. There's my prediction. I didn't have it written down. I'm just going to throw it out there on a whim, but I think FAU will score more points this week. So, all right. With that being said, we'll put football in the rearview mirror and we'll talk a little bit of hoops. And we got some more scheduling information. We'll let Tyler take the helm here and let us know what's new with WKU basketball in the hoop schedule this year.
Yeah, some new stuff out. They will play a 9-game non-conference schedule. Most of the games are set. A few more to come. They'll be announced here soon. I heard the next couple of weeks or so. Like I said, the conference slate is also set. But non-conference-wise, they're playing some bubble action. So they'll open up in the Nebraska bubble on the 25th of November, play a couple games there. I know the second game is LSU. They'll be a top 20 program. But now the Louisville bubble is officially official. It starts the 28th of November, runs to December 3rd. They're playing Little Rock, who used to be in the Sun Belt. I think they still are, actually. Play them on November 28th to open up. And then they'll play Louisville, the host, on December 1st. And then close play against Prairie View A&M on December 3rd. The Louisville game will count towards their 4-game series they're playing. So they'll come to Diddle next year and then back to Yum Center the year after that. All teams stay at the Gold House Hotel attached to the Yum Center. Eat all their meals there. There's 2 practice courts set up, 1 down the road. There's a weight room set up. It's kind of a cool kind of environment for this event. So with the 3 games guaranteed there in Louisville, I get some good quality opponents. So pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff. It's kind of intriguing with all the, the bubble tournaments and stuff. Well, I don't know if they're tournaments or just bubble action going on like that. I mean, it's kind of cool to kind of see these things being released and, who's playing who and all that stuff. Casey, I know you got to go here in a few minutes, so I'll throw it to you. Any thoughts on the Louisville bubble and what you kind of see with these matchups and, what you're kind of looking forward to and seeing the rest of the bubble schedule kind of come out, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely excited for some WKU hoops action because obviously I'm not in the best mood about WKU football. So I think it'll be a little bit more positive looking forward to basketball, which I'm definitely looking forward to now. It's worth noting that the opponents in the Louisville bubble for WKU went 64-30 last year. So some pretty talented basketball teams in action in this bubble, despite Prairie View A&M and Little Rock being, mid-majors. Little Rock and Prairie View A&M, though, won their conference regular seasons last year, though. So that's definitely worth noting. 2 very challenging squads that shouldn't be overlooked by WKU in this. And WKU is 8-4 versus Power 5 opponents in their last 3 seasons. So that's worth noting, too, because I know I am for sure going to be looking forward to that December 1st matchup against the Louisville Cardinals because, like I always say, it's L's down over here, man. So I'm ready to see WKU get that victory, make that record possibly 9-4, 10-4, maybe even if they get another Power 5 win in that Nebraska bubble. So looking forward to that game for sure on December 1st. And with that, I will leave you guys. So good stuff.
Casey, before you go, can we confirm that Little Rock, is it still in the Sun Belt or did they get downgraded to the SWAC?
I actually don't know what to say on that one, but the SWAC. We'll go with the SWAC just because I like saying SWAC. Swag, right?
They're still in the Sun Belt. I was just
all right. Yeah, I got you.
Because he wasn't sure if they were still in the Sun Belt or not. I don't even know if he's listening to the podcast right now. Anyway, Tyler, you still there?
Who's that?
It is confirmed that Little Rock is in the Sun Belt, by the way.
Okay,
Okay,
I
cool.
thought so.
And it was also confirmed by Casey that they were the regular season champs last year.
Really? Okay, then.
15-5 in conference play.
Ooh, Fun Belt.
Casey, you brought the heat, man. You are free to go do your interview. Okay.
All right, appreciate it, y'all. Hey, good stuff as always. Looking forward to seeing y'all's content the rest of the week. Later on, y'all.
Hey, man. Thanks for everything. All right. So with that, Casey's out. Tyler's still hanging around, halfway to listening. He's probably talking to himself or something. So Noah, we'll flip it to you, man. What do you think about the Louisville bubble matchups, and what are you kind of looking forward to this season? Especially, let's talk especially non-conference matchups possibly into the season. But just give us your thoughts.
Yeah, a lot of resume builders they put on the schedule. Little Rock, obviously, really good squad returning. Pulled off the upset against Purdue a couple years ago, I believe 2016, 2017 in the NCAA tournament. So they've been a really solid program in the Sun Belt. I believe Prairie View, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think that they've made a couple tournament visits here recently in the past couple years. And then obviously you got the Rhode Island Rams, the rematch this time in Diddle from last year in that overtime game. That was a really fun one. And then obviously the big one, Louisville, they're in their own bubble. I think that'll be – I'm not going to go ahead and make predictions or claims or anything, but I really think that if you're going to catch somebody off guard, for a non-conference upset early in the season, right here in this weird time would be the time to do it. And I think Western has the roster and the talent to do that with Louisville. Louisville's got lost a lot of talent from last year. I believe that they got a transfer guard in who I believe everybody in the 502 is raving about, but Malik Williams and David Johnson, just the two main returners that are that come to mind in terms of guys that are threats to Western. And then I'm not sure about what the rest of the non-conference schedule is going to look like, but those 3 to 4 games right there are pretty huge. So Western could win 3 of those games. I mean, that would be huge in terms of regardless of if they win the conference outright or not. Tournament time. Those are important games to win for building a resume for March whenever it comes to we've seen in the past few years where they've been favorites to win the conference tournament and they have not, and then they've come up short because their resume is not good enough to, stay on the bubble, and it's bursted on them. So it's been a really good job by Todd Stewart and them to schedule these games with recognizing the roster talent that they have this year so that, in the case of like the break the glass in case of emergency, if they don't win the conference tournament, they can win some of these games early and do well in conference play, that they can still slide into the tournament.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a pretty intriguing non-conference matchup so far. I'm kind of interested to see where that all comes out. That's what I kind of like about this bubble thing. You kind of get all these teams in one spot, and you can, get some intriguing matchups there. So it's almost like a mini NCAA tournament. Tyler, I'll go back to you. I noticed where kind of came out that Conference USA is thinking about maybe playing these games or conference games like back-to-back days. Just give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, originally it was Thursday, Saturday. You'll play teams twice in the same week. So you'll play them on Thursday and Saturday, like at La Tech or at Western or yada, yada, yada. But now it's going to be Friday, Saturday, cut down to even more travel. So you show up on Thursday, you play Friday, Saturday, then leave, head out. So cuts down on travel expenses, cuts down on COVID spread. And it's kind of like an AAU tournament. You play the same team twice, you get your done with them, then you move on. And I think also this year they're playing – get your rival team once at home, once away. So Marshall will come home and away at one time. That's also cuts down on travel. So I think some good stuff in Conference USA this year to set up the schedule.
And I know I'll flip it to you, kind of your thoughts on kind of this back-to-back play in Conference USA. What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, first of all, Sean, I don't know if you ended up listening. I feel like you did listen to the podcast record last week, but I don't hold any personal allegiance or, love for the teams here on campus except for one. And this is the team, and this is the program where I'm most attached. And so I think Friday, Saturday back-to-backs are great. You tell me on Friday after class I can go watch Western, then I can get up Saturday and I can go do it again. That's really cool. But I think the main thing that Tyler brought up, and I was just looking at the schedule, obviously, the home and home with Marshall is interesting. So I wonder if that's going to be Friday, Saturday, because I don't think possibly that they would play Friday night, get on the plane or get on the bus and go to West Virginia and then play Saturday afternoon. So that'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But other than that, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a really fun year. I mean, we did say this about football though, but I think basketball, our expectations are much more tempered in terms of like, there's no way we can be let down, right?
Yeah, wink, 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 cough, cough, cough. We shall
Anything can
see.
happen. We'll see.
We shall see. I mean, I guess we'll do this next week, and as basketball gets a little closer, we'll kind of do a little bit more of an in-depth preview and things like that, and give our record predictions out. Obviously, now the schedule isn't even set yet with non-conference and everything, but I really like how things are shaping up with the schedule, and I really hope it works out with the bubbles and everything like that. There's some intriguing matchups there, and hopefully we go to the Nebraska bubble. Maybe you play Nebraska, even though they're not a good team. But I mean, hey,
And Tyler mentioned that maybe LSU is there. That's another huge one. That's a top 25 team in the country right there. That's another team that's another resume builder. And I would like to say that they're good enough to beat LSU, but LSU's got a lot of solid players. I talked about them all last week. So just really really fun non-conference schedule. It typically has been in the past whenever they've had Arkansas and Belmont in the schedule the last few years, but I think up into LSU and Nebraska and all some more Power 5 schools, that's really fun.
Yeah, I saw your message, Tyler. If you have to bail on us real quick, I'm about to wrap it up. I was just going to mention, Will Wade's teams are always tough. They always have a lot of talent, and he's got that force field shield around the NCAA, so they can't touch him. So, all right.
As John Rothstein would say, Will Wade, American gangster.
American gangster.
That's a pretty good comparison right there. Al Capone too, just toss him in the tunnel and hide when the NCAA comes around, and just bring him back out whenever they're gone. All right, guys, I really appreciate the time. That'll wrap it up for this week's edition of wrapping up BYU game, previewing FAU, talking a little hoops. We'll do it all again next week. Inside HilltopperSports.com. Tyler Mansfield, Noah McGhee, Casey Warner. We'll see you guys next week.